out there, ref. That she got the ball.
Good evening, Tottenham fans all across the world, and hope you have been out enjoying your Saturdays wherever you are and whatever you've been up to. But make sure you get some rest tonight because we have a big game tomorrow and the boys do need your support. Yes, that's right. 3 days after beating Karabag and getting our Europa League campaign off to an ideal start with a good 3-0 win, we are back in action, which means there will be more rotations as we travel to Old Trafford to take on Manchester United. This is the sort of game that I call an absolute six-pointer. Both teams are rivaling each other for a top 4 finish this season and have for many years. And this is a sort of game in the season that we're in right now where both teams have got off to an identical start, not the ideal start that both clubs would have wanted to. I think whoever wins this, it really kickstarts their campaign. It gives them the momentum they need and they go on to challenge for a top 4. I think whoever loses this, I think is in for a very, very long season ahead. So, hopefully, we go up there, we absolutely batter them with Ten Hag under pressure and get him sacked. That's the idea. Get the 3 points on the board. Let's build some momentum and some steam ahead for the season. So let's get into it. The lineup that I think Ange Postecoglou is going to pick to do that. Starting with goalkeeper and Guglielmo Vicario will retain his place between the sticks after an impressive display midweek against Karabag, especially off the back of a lot of scrutiny after his performance against Brentford. He pulled off a string of saves to help keep Tottenham in the game, but also keep a clean sheet and get that first victory in the Europa League. Now, there has been a lot of scrutiny around Vicario's game in recent times, especially from set pieces. But after the Brentford game, there was a lot of people questioning, is this guy good enough? Some people maybe even questioning, should we do what Arsenal done? They brought in Ramsdale initially. You know, he cost them games. You end up bringing in another goalkeeper. Me, personally, I think Vicario's been an absolute great servant to Tottenham. I think we have one of the best shot stoppers in world football. He's a great distributor of the ball. And I think over time, he will learn to become more commanding of his area. And interestingly, he was captain Thursday night, which I absolutely love, because when you look at Vicario, he's constantly screaming, shouting, organising people, and that's what you want from your goalkeeper. Your goalkeeper, as well as he needs to be reliable, and in modern day he needs to be able to play out from the back, you still need the old-fashioned traits of someone that's vocal, keeping people organised ahead of him, because at the end of the day, the goalkeeper is the one that can see the whole pitch. He's the one that can see the whole picture. You know, it's up to him then to be able to direct that back four and keep them focused and watch out for things that maybe they can't see or that they've switched off and keep them switched on. So I think it's a very good choice to make him the fourth leader of that leadership group. But for this game, Man United, they have been a small bit of a threat from set pieces this season. They are getting better for them. So again, it's an area that he's going to be tested. Ten Hag will look to put the ball on top of him inside that 6-yard box. It's up to him to go and try and claim it or punch it if that's what he prefers to do. But most importantly, let's try and keep another clean sheet. Back-to-back clean sheets would really give us that momentum that we need. Give him a massive boost of confidence. But also, if we keep a clean sheet, it means we're getting a result from Old Trafford. Moving on into right back, and it will be the postman Porro. And United fans, I do warn you, he delivers UK-wide. And just to back up my point, nobody in the Premier League has delivered more accurate crosses from open play than Pedro Porro, who has delivered 8 this season in terms of the Premier League. So he is going to be a very key asset for us going forward. And I'm still waiting for him to try and find that sort of partnership that he did have with Richarlison. If anyone goes back to the games Richarlison played last season, Pedro Porro was able to sort of cross the ball from all angles for him because he had that bit of time with him on the pitch. He knew exactly what runs he was going to make and where he wanted the ball. And I do think after a little while, he will develop that with Dominic Solanke. And boy, I cannot wait, because Dominic Solanke is an absolute beast in the air. So I'm still waiting for that partnership to develop. But defensively as well, Pedro Porro is going to have a huge afternoon. It's more than likely either going to be Rashford or Garnacho down that left-hand side running at him. And with Rashford, he absolutely... But defensively as well, Pedro Porro is going to have a huge afternoon. It's more than likely either going to be Rashford or Garnacho down that left-hand side running at him. And with Rashford, he absolutely loves a goal against Tottenham. But not only that, United do create a lot of chances in general. They are no mugs. I think United and Spurs are 3rd and 4th in the Premier League for chances created, or XG, this season. So it shows how much chances we create. Both teams just have a problem with not taking them. But Marcus Rashford has been a pain in my ass ever since he came through at Man United. He absolutely loves a goal against us, loves assisting. He just loves terrorising Tottenham. And with us being so open down the wings, Ten Hag's just going to instruct his players to hit that ball every single time, more so down Rashford's side to get at Pedro Porro, who does like to get forward in the inverted role. But one lesson I think Pedro Porro really needs to learn, and it is really starting to irk me a little bit, is he tends to drop off his man a lot and almost allows him to sort of drive him back into the box, almost to the point where he's almost sitting right in on top of Romero and waiting for Romero to come out and help him. In this modern day, it's very, very important that you learn to be able to defend one-on-one. That's the way modern day football is going. It's very rare now you get someone else to come across and help you. And Pedro Porro hopefully learned his lesson against Brentford. He sat off Keane Lewis Potter, allowed him to put that ball in for Mbeumo, and we were 1-0 down inside 30 seconds. So it's nowhere near good enough from Pedro Porro. Against Rashford tomorrow, he is going to have to get touch tight, stop the crosses from coming in, show him on the outside if you have to. It's going to be a very interesting battle, but if Pedro Porro can keep Marcus Rashford out, we have a huge chance in this game. Moving on over to left back, and Destiny Udogie will return. Of course, came off the bench against Karabag and put in an absolute unbelievable display. Defensively was absolute solid for the majority of the night. But going forward, he done a very important job for us, being able to carry that ball up the pitch with explosive runs. And from the last few games, it really does look like Destiny Udogie is starting to get back to his very, very best since having that long injury layoff and then the fatigue and the soreness that he was suffering in the early games of this season. And hopefully, he's just starting to find his stride and that form just at the right time, as we have a very, very busy but also very difficult fixture schedule ahead of us. Again, it's not going to be a very easy night for him. He's going to have Jallo or Garnacho again running down that side at him. And because we leave the wings so open, he's going to have to get back very, very quickly with his recovery runs. Destiny Udogie has learned his lesson. I think there was a game earlier on in the season where he done what's similar to Porro against Brentford, where he backed off his man, allowed him to cross the ball, and it was absolutely devastating. Since then, he has got very touch tight out to them wingers, out to the fullbacks, looking to get the crosses in, and is looking to stop them at the source. So he is learning in that regard. And against Brentford, I would like to see him keep doing this, because he didn't play that inverted role as much. Every time he got the opportunity, he went on the outside of Son, which meant the space that he previously was occupying with the inverted runs, it was free then for Son and Maddison to work in, and it was absolutely devastating. So that was one tweak I definitely noticed against Brentford, and I hope it's the exact same here against Man United, because ideally you don't want your left back in them positions on the ball, in and around the left hand side of the area, on the edge of it. You want him making the overlap runs. You want Son in there, you want Maddison in there, where they have that technique, where they have that craft, where it's absolutely devastating. So that was a very, very good change, and hopefully we see the same against Man United. Now moving into centre back, and we'll start with the right hand side, and it will be the return of Christian Romero, who of course missed the Karabakh game due to suspension. And Romero owes us an absolute huge game. He's been a real mixed bag this season, cost us a few games and a few points already. Now is the time to put in your best performance of the season and announce, Spurs fans, I am back. And then his partner in crime at left side of centre back, it will be Mickey van de Ven, who will be playing his second game within a week, his second game within 3 days. And it is a little bit of a concern for me, because when we overworked him last season, his hamstrings went, and I just hope that the same doesn't happen here. Also, off the back of playing Thursday night, it's going to be very hard to get straight up to speed as you might need in a Premier League game to hit the ground running. My concern is that it might take him 5 or 10 minutes, and within that 5 or 10 minutes, it might cost us an opportunity or even a goal. So I really do hope that Van de Ven could come out here from minute one and really put in another stellar performance. He was amazing against Karabakh. Without him, we wouldn't have won that game. He was getting back, covering everything that just tried to put him behind. The amount of balls that they put into the box, and he was getting on the end, clearing them. And it was a real sort of Jan Vertonghen performance that I've seen in years gone by from Jan. And Mickey van de Ven is just a second coming. I absolutely love this guy. And the pace is going to be absolutely crucial, that recovery pace, to stop Man United. We know that they're going to use very quick, fast, dynamic forward players in Xerxes, Rashford, Jallo, Garnacho, Anthony. It doesn't matter who they use. And they're going to look to ping them balls in behind in the channels, and also look to get balls down from there across the middle to the on-rushing Xerxes. And Van de Ven is going to be crucial to start cutting the balls out down the left, down the right-hand side. Now, moving into the CDM role, an interesting call to make here. You know, does he go with his favourite Bissouma, or does he continue to give Bentancur his opportunity, which I think he took against Brentford? I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And with Bissouma playing more or less the full 90 minutes against Karabag midweek, I do think it would be Bentancur that will step in here again in this CDM role. And I thought he was absolutely excellent against Brentford. One thing I really noticed to get from Bentancur against Brentford is he didn't venture too far forward like we have seen the CDMs do in previous games or last year for a lot of the time, where they're almost getting up with the play on the edge of the box. Bentancur, for a large part, sort of sat back in or just in front of Mickey van de Ven and Romero to give us that extra body back there, that extra defensive solidity, and it really worked. I've seen him cut out a couple of opportunities down the left-hand side defensively. I've seen him sitting in between them and be able to cut out a couple of opportunities there in the middle as well, and an absolute brilliant performance. And what I love about Bentancur is he has that brilliant pass through the lines that splits them and gets our players turned on the ball with a bit of space down the centre, which is absolutely devastating. And look, I'm a really big Bentancur fan. You know, his injuries have been a huge problem for his career at Tottenham. It's almost stalled his career at Tottenham to the point where people maybe start questioning, is this guy as good as we say he is? But I think with a couple more games underneath his belt, with him finding his stride, I think he'll get back to his very best, the form that he was in before his injury sort of took over his career over the last 2 years. But again, we need a massive performance here from Bentancur. He's really going to have to keep an eye on Bruno Fernandes when we're out of possession. That guy terrorises Tottenham. Again, a player that we could have signed ended up at Man United, and every time we play against him, he always turns up. On the edge of the box, he's going to look to pick up pockets of space just off the left or the right to swing balls over the top for un-Russian players in behind. He done that against us in Ange Postecoglou's first game against Man United last season. And in the second game, I think he scored from the edge of the box, if I'm correct. So again, Bentancur's going to have to be very wary of that and not allow him to shoot or get any shooting opportunities around that box. And if he does, get out there with intent and look to close it down. And lastly, Rodrigo Bentancur, he scored against Man United last year. Could he do the same again tomorrow? Let's wait and see. Now, moving into the right sided of the midfield, and this for me is the big call of the day. I think everyone else more or less picks itself, but this one is the big call. Do you go with someone that's industrious like Papamatta Sarr, that'll give you a bit more defensive solidity, and be aware that you are heading up to Old Trafford, it's away from home, our away record is not great? Or do you go with someone that's going to give you that little bit more creativity in that final third, especially being away from home, to help you unlock that door and create multiple opportunities? So, for me, it's a toss-up. Papamatta Sarr or Dejan Kulusevski? I do think, though, Postecoglou will go with Dejan Kulusevski. Papamatta Sarr expended a lot of energy against Karabag on Thursday night, and I'm just not sure he will get the nod here. I think he'll be used to come off the bench later on in the game to provide that bit of dynamism, you know, that freshness in that midfield, you know, defensively and going forward, just to sort of run the legs off Man United. But to start the game, I do think he will go with Dejan Kulusevski. And look, Kulusevski will give you a lot of work rate defensively. That's one thing I will give him. You know, but is he as industrious in terms of getting after the ball like Papamatta Sarr? Probably not. But he does give you that extra bit of creativity that Papamatta Sarr doesn't. And I think Kulusevski has been one of Tottenham's, if not Tottenham's, best player and most consistent player over the course of this season. He was absolutely excellent pre-season, and he's been really, really good this season. He just creates absolute havoc. And one thing I've noticed is he provides a lot of opportunities for Brennan Johnson. And Brennan Johnson is starting to take them now, which means Kulusevski's starting to get assists to his name. Before, he was playing a lot of that stuff, but was going unnoticed because we weren't taking our chances. And I'll be very interested to see if Dejan Kulusevski can really get on the ball and take the game to Man United. James Maddison set the tone last week of what we need. It's now up to Kulusevski to realise that and go and match it. And then that brings me off to the other guy that's going to complete the midfield for Tottenham Hotspur up at Old Trafford. And it will be the one and only James Maddison. An absolute phenomenal performance against Brentford. And the sort of performance that I've been waiting for from James Maddison. The performance that I know he has in him, that I feel like he's been hiding at Tottenham Hotspur. But we finally got to see the very best of James Maddison against Brentford. When this guy is on it and he takes the game to the opposition, it's absolutely game over. Against Brentford, James Maddison was not only popping balls down that left-hand side, not only could you play nice intricate 1-2s with him, not only was he, getting shots off on the edge of the box, he was also making runs in behind, dropping deep, getting on the ball, then looking to drive forward and play it with purpose. Much better performance from Maddison, but my biggest praise for him from that game, funny enough, is an area that I think he shirked for quite some time at Tottenham, but he was phenomenal against Brentford. Out of possession, hunting that ball, getting after it, getting tackles in there, looking to turn it over. He was sensational in that department. It was the real complete performance from James Maddison against Brentford, and hopefully that breakout performance we needed and he needed at Tottenham Hotspur, and one that now he can use going forward as the benchmark to gather momentum and really kickstart his season and his Tottenham career. And hopefully he does the same against Man United tomorrow, because if he does, they're in huge trouble. And then that brings me into my favourite area of the pitch, and that is the forward line. Let's start with the left-hand side. Now, Postecoglou did report that Son did say to him after the game that he was tired and had a little bit of tiredness in his hamstrings. And there's been massive speculation whether he's going to be fit and available for this game. However, for me, he's our club captain. He's the one that's going to make the decision. Postecoglou will ask him, are you ready to play? Son, I think, is going to go through the pain barrier. He is going to put himself out there, and he is going to start. How long does he have in him? I mean, that's another question altogether. But that's why I think we need to make most use of him while he's on the pitch. Look to get the ball to him at every opportunity and look to get at United and help break them down. Now, Sonny, in front of goals against Brentford, he spurned a lot of opportunities. And against Karabag, he looked very, very tired. And that's why, for me, he shouldn't be playing games like Karabag. Because the way he's feeling now, come the end of the season, when it's the business end of the campaign, and if we're still in trophies, it's going to come back to bite us in the ass. So we need to preserve as much game time in the likes of the Carabao Cup and Europa League for him as we can, so that we can get him out for these big games. And again, the fact that it's even 50-50 coming into this game is another reason why he shouldn't have played against Karabag. Of course, the plan was probably to get him off the pitch a lot earlier, but Dragusin sending off didn't help that. But it doesn't matter. We shouldn't need Son to beat Karabag. But the reason why you do play Son, even if he's only half fit, is because he is our world-class star in that forward line. If anyone's going to find that pass, find that cross, or even find that goal, it will be Sonny. But what I will say is, when Tottenham do plan these pre-season tours out to the likes of Korea, they are going to have to look to, preserve Sonny a little bit and stop him doing so much work when he's out there. Because the last time we had a pre-season tour out in Korea, it was this time of the season where he went missing underneath Antonio Conte because he was so tired, because he was so fatigued. At times he spent games on the bench, because the pre-season tour really took it out of him. He was also complaining about the amount of games, saying that he's tired as well. But pre-season tours where you're doing so much work, so much media work, everyone wants a piece of you, is also demanding, draining, tiring and stuff like that. So, when we go out to these tours in future, you're going to have to get other people to start picking up the slack on these tours and stop trying to cash in on Sonny as much as you can, because now on the football side of things, which is what we bought him for and where we really need him, we're now taking a hit because of it. He's every bit as tired. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not finished. He's going to find that sort of form at some point. But I do see a direct correlation from the last time we were out there to this time we were out there, and the periods where he looks a bit jaded and stuff like that. But look, he hopefully turns up against Man United. He scored more and assisted more against Man United than any other player on this team we currently have right now. So he's our man if we're going to take all 3 points. And that brings me on out to the right-hand side, and it is the whiz kid right now, Brennan Johnson, of course, scoring 3 in his last 3 games. And you know what? I've sat there and I've had a long, deep thought about Brennan Johnson. He had these similar spells last season, but where the frustration came in is he couldn't find the consistency to keep doing it at this level. And at a club like Tottenham Hotspur, that's what we need if we're going to look to challenge on all 4 fronts. And it'd be very interesting to see now whether he can actually use this as a platform to kick on and really bring that consistency to his game and show someone like me that I have matured, I do understand it, and I do have that bit of nastiness in me, that bit of dog to be able to keep this going. And in front of goal lately, he's been absolutely exceptional. Instead of snatching at his chances like he once was. You could see the confidence in him against Karabakh the other night. He just rolled it in past the goalkeeper like he was almost passing the ball. And that only a player only does that when he is really high with confidence, and that's exactly what Brennan Johnson is right now. So be interested to see whether he can bring that consistency or not. But the other thing I've noticed is, and I've gone back and thought about this, is over the course of last season and even early this season, a lot of the chances tend to fall his way. Now, again, I'm trying to work out why is that, because the opposition is so much focused on trying to double up on Son that gives Brennan Johnson that bit of extra space over that side where it's one-on-one, and that's why he gets a lot more chances. I'm not quite so sure. But with Kulusevski in that number 8 role, he does put a lot on the plate for Brennan Johnson. All Brennan Johnson has to do is make runs off him, and Decky will find him. And it is really working, that combination between the two of them. So it'll be interesting to see how that also develops over the course of this season. But Brennan Johnson, keep it up. There's no better way to answer your critics. People like me, who criticise you on your footballing ability, not some of the other shit the kids had to endure, which is disgraceful. Keep it going, because then you're just going to leave people like me red-faced. And that brings me on to the guy up front who put in an absolute unbelievable performance against Karabakh Thursday night, and that is big Dominic Solanke. He was absolutely brilliant. What a performance, all-round striker performance. Not only does the guy work his nuts off out of possession, chasing down everything, looking to turn the ball over, and really embodies what Postecoglou's trying to do. He is a very useful striker. You can get the ball into him, he can hold it up, you can play off him, he can get turned and try and play others. And not only that, he follows shots up when people are taking him. He got a goal against Brentford following James Maddison's shot up, and he got a goal the other night following someone else's shot up. And that's exactly what we brought that striker for. That's exactly what we were missing last year. Last year, players were static ball watching. Strikers ain't trained to do that. They're trained to follow up. You just never know when them scraps. You're basically trained to be a scavenger. Follow everything up. Things are going to break to you, and you got to be there to punish them. And so far, Dominic Solanke has. Now, don't get me wrong. He missed a huge opportunity against Karabakh to really kill the game at a pivotal point, which would have been our third goal at the time, which means we probably would have went on to score more. We would have demoralised them straight after they missed the penalty. And he had a couple of similar opportunities, in other games, which that concerns me a little bit. The finishing still concerns me, the consistency of it. And if he really wants to kick on at Tottenham, he's going to have to start bagging these chances like top strikers have done in years gone by at Tottenham Hotspur. But nonetheless, when I done my welcome to video, I did have my doubts about his finishing. Them concerns are still there. For the rest of his all-round game, he's absolutely surprised me, and long may it continue. I'm rooting for the guy, and hopefully he can bag another couple or another one against Man United this weekend. Do you know what? I've just had this weird feeling Dom Solanke's going to bag a brace against Man United all week. Don't know why. It's just been sort of rattling around in my brain, and I'm trying to push it to the back, and it keeps coming to the fore. Maybe that's the Lord trying to send me a sign. But guys, that is my predicted lineup to take on Man United. Please give me yours in the comment section below, plus any other comments on anything else I have said, or any other comments on the players that you want to make for me to engage with. And lastly, any fans that are travelling to the game tomorrow night up at Old Trafford, guys, please, you're not going to a football event. You are going to a water park, so make sure you dress accordingly. I don't want anybody coming home with pneumonia or the flu and stuff like that. There is leaks all over Old Trafford. And anyone seen the image coming out midweek? There was just an absolute river of water flowing over the seats all the way down onto, the edge of the pitch. It was absolutely disgusting to see. This is supposed to be one of the bastions of English football, one of the greatest stadiums, the theatre of dreams. I mean, it's just now a theatre of fucking water parks. It's an absolute disgrace. So make sure you get your plastic ponchos, bring them, rain macs, rain trousers, waterproof socks, waterproof boots, swim cap, armbands, rubber dinghy, Do you know what I would actually love to see? Spurs fans bringing up a rubber dinghy and rowing down with the water right down the stands. That would absolutely go viral. But guys, please stay safe up there. Enjoy yourself. Be prepared for a very wet afternoon. But most importantly, come on, you Spurs. We owe them for sacking Nuno. Some Spurs fans might say a blessing in disguise. I don't care. I don't like any club having sway over our club and swaying our decisions. Now it's our turn to sway Man United's decisions and turn the tide on them. Let's go and get Ten Hag sacked. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange, we trust. We never stop.